Simulation theory. This idea proposes that our current reality that we experience as humans is actually a simulated, computerized reality in which humans themselves are constructed. Nick Bostrom is a philosopher that gives credence to this idea, arguing that because many technologists and futurologists predict that enormous amounts of computing power will be available in the future, future generations might use this power and technology to run detailed simulations of their ancestors or of people like their ancestors. So therefore, we could be a part of that futuristic simulation right now. Of course, this is only possible if future computing power is capable of producing beings with a consciousness, which most people believe is impossible. Rasarianism. Rasarianism is an Abrahamic religion that developed in Jamaica during the 1930s, and it is based on a specific interpretation of the Bible. They believe that Jesus was a black African, and that the white Jesus was a false god, and view Christianity as an invention from the white man. Because of this, they treat Christianity with suspicion and view the two faiths as incompatible. Since they can't share the same God with their oppressors, Rastafarians have an interesting view of death, believing that death is simply a transition from one realm to another, and that the soul continues its journey after physical life, as long as the individual practices righteousness their entire life. Because of this, they do not hold funerals. Never-ending life theory. This theory is pretty straightforward. It is the belief that when humans die, they are reborn again as a new person with no memory of their previous life. It's essentially just a form of reincarnation without religion involved. 22% of secular Europeans and 20% of secular Americans believe in the never-ending life theory. Cosmic theory. This theory claims that our consciousness belongs to the universe, not to our individual bodies or God, and that when we die, our consciousness returns to the cosmos. Many people also believe the end of the world and the entire universe will take place anywhere from 1 to 100 trillion years from now, because eventually the supply of gas needed for star formation will be exhausted. As existing stars run out of fuel and cease to shine, the universe will slowly and inexorably grow darker. This is called the Big Freeze, or the heat death. Buddhist Theory. Buddhists believe in the version of reincarnation that is much more complicated than never-ending life theory. The rebirth doctrine asserts that rebirth takes place in one of the 6 realms of samsara: the realm of gods, demigods, humans, the animal realm, the ghost realm, and the hell realms. Rebirth, as stated by various Buddhist traditions, is determined by karma, with good and bad realms favored by good, bad, skillful, or unskillful karma, while nirvana is the ultimate goal of Buddhist teaching, which basically means breaking free from all worldly desire and only living for spiritual gain. Much of traditionalist Buddhist practice has been centered on gaining merit and merit transfer, as an individual gains rebirth in the good realms and avoids rebirth in the evil realms. Parallel universe theory. This theory, also known as the many worlds theory, has been explained in countless sci-fi movies and comic books, but some believe there might be truth in it. This theory claims that when we die, we will be living in the same universe as we were before, just in a different portion of space and time. According to the many worlds theory, for each possible outcome to an action, the world splits into a copy of itself. This is an instantaneous process that a doctoral student of Princeton University called decohesion. Writer Josh Clark compares this idea to a choose-your-own-adventure book, but instead of being given a choice of which page you end up on, the universe splits in two, so that each action is taken. Dream theory. This theory is very strange, and more of a fun thought rather than something based on scientific evidence. Dream theory suggests that we are currently inside of our own dream, and that when we truly wake up from this reality, we begin a new one. Many people speculate this is the case due to our ability to feel all of our senses within our dreams, such as taste, smell, and even touch. Even the famous deaf and blind author Helen Keller reports in her memoirs that she could see and hear in her dreams, feelings that she could not ever remember experiencing while awake. So, could life just be a giant, realistic feeling dream? Perhaps I should make an entire separate video about dreams. Subscribe and comment down below if you would want that. Aztec theory. The Aztecs had a very interesting and complicated theory surrounding the afterlife, as it separates it into 3 paths: the sun, Mictlan, or Tlalocan, and the way that you die determines which afterlife you end up in. Fallen soldiers or women who died giving birth became hummingbirds that followed the sun. People who died from natural causes would go to Mictlan, which is basically the Aztec version of Satan. Here, dead people would begin their journey through the 9 stages of hell to overcome a variety of obstacles in order to reach the liberation of their soul. And finally, anyone who died drowning in water or from disease went to Tlalocan, who ruled the Aztec version of heaven. Nothingness and uncertain theory. Nothingness theory, otherwise known as eternal oblivion, is the idea that when you die, you lose consciousness. Nothing happens and you are surrounded in darkness. This theory is mostly accepted by atheists, and it presents either a horrifying or comforting conclusion depending on your perspective. A study by the Pew Research Center shows that 17% of Americans do not believe in any afterlife. Another similar idea to this is known simply as the uncertain theory, which doesn't necessarily believe that when we die, it's just an empty state of nothingness, but rather we don't know what happens, and it's impossible to truly know, so there's no point in discussing it in definitive terms. Christian theory. Christianity's view on afterlife is perhaps the most well-known theory, and it is the belief that Christians who live a good and spiritual life honoring Jesus Christ and living as closely to Him as possible, as opposed to living a life of materialism and worldly pride, live the rest of their lives in heaven where they are incapable of committing sin, and glorify God for eternity with everyone else who made it. Conversely, anyone who failed to follow God or rejected Him will live the rest of eternity in hell, where Satan resides. There are no Christians who fully understand what specific actions will get you to heaven or hell, as the understanding is that Jesus was intentionally vague so that true believers would follow His path passionately and genuinely, rather than just follow a glorified to-do list to achieve the good end result. Christians are also unclear what hell exactly looks like, although Catholics believe that in 1917, Mary, the Mother of God, revealed a vision of hell to 3 children that lived in Portugal, along with a vision of World War II, a tragedy that was yet to inflict the world at the time.
Mormon Theory. Many people debate whether or not Mormons are a denomination of Christianity or heresy, with many critics of Mormonism pointing to their views on afterlife as a perfect example of their being led astray. Mormon death theory starts off similarly to typical Christian thinking, by saying that evil people go to hell and that good people go to heaven, but their view on heaven is more complicated. Heaven is divided by 3 degrees of glory: the celestial, terrestrial, and celestial kingdoms. The highest degree, and by far the most desirable, is the celestial kingdom, where individuals can dwell in the presence of God. Here, they eternally live with God's presence, continue as families, become gods themselves, create other worlds, have spirit children, and increase in power and glory forever. However, some members of the Mormon Church denied if this is part of their teaching, claiming that these views come from misinterpretations of Mormon sermons, leading to a lot of confusion, speculation, and debate as to what they actually believe. Egyptian Pharaoh Theory. Unlike other afterlife theories that believe the soul leaves the body, the ancient Egyptians believed that when they died, their physical body would continue to exist in an afterlife that was very similar to their living world. However, entry into this afterlife was not guaranteed. The dead had to negotiate a dangerous underworld journey and face the final judgment before they were granted access. Egyptian pharaohs believed their death was not permanent, however, and they would return to the world again for a second life. All the Egyptians' tombs were typically decorated with text meant to help guide the deceased soul into the afterlife. Many of the deceased's personal belongings were also included in their tombs, which ranged in value depending on their social status. Pharaohs' tombs were provided with the vast quantities of wealth and various goods. Paranormal Theory. Just like the multiverse theory we talked about earlier, paranormal theory is a collection of ideas involving the paranormal world, and it often falls outside the realm of mainstream scientific understanding, typically being the backbone of most horror films. That being said, studies show that about 4 in 10 Americans believe in ghosts, so it's not that uncommon for people to seriously discuss the paranormal theory, which is the idea that after death, our souls remain among living on Earth. This is often associated with ghost sightings or paranormal activity. It is also often believed that communication with these souls is possible through various mediums, such as Ouija boards, various ghost hunting equipment, and even through their dreams. Hindu Theory. The Hindu theory of death and afterlife has a huge variety of interpretations, so it is a little hard to summarize it in one set ideology. However, there are some common themes and concepts that are widely accepted in Hindu thought. Hindu death theory is extremely similar to Buddhism views, as they agree on karma, dharma, moksha, and reincarnation. However, there are some key differences, such as the fact that Hinduism has its own priests, rituals, and it believes in the caste system. Hindu traditions consider the soul to be an unchanging eternal essence of the living being, and that it is what journeys across reincarnations until it attains self-knowledge. Whereas in contrast, Buddhism asserts a rebirth theory without a self. Frozen head theory. Frozen head theory, or the practice of cryogenics on humans, is not a theory that concerns the afterlife, but rather a speculative practice that some believe can avoid death or the afterlife altogether. It is the idea that when we die, we can freeze our body in cryogenic nitrogen chambers, and they will be preserved for the future when advancements in medicines can bring us back to life. Of course, as of January 2022, no one who has ever undergone cryogenics has ever come back to life, and scientific feasibility of successfully reviving a preserved body in the future remains uncertain. However, this hasn't stopped anyone from trying. Reports suggest that around 500 people have been put in cryogenic stasis after legal death, with the majority of them being from the United States.